Start recording. All right, well then, welcome everybody. So today we have a guest for an AMA with DFire. That's Nick with Symbiosis. Hello, Nick. How are you doing today?
Yes, well, true. Doing well, doing well. Our attention, all of our attention suddenly like captivated by this event from
Right.
FTX or meeting and so forth. But all in all, we here for building some stuff. Even though the market doesn't seem like in a good condition at the moment, but still like it's all about ups and downs. Trying to be a down, but we will be up sometime soon. So I'm pretty in a good mood,
Hmm.
I would say. Hope you too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm just actually, sharing my screen while recording. Sadly, I cannot share it here on the stage, but I'm just on your website. So perhaps you could say, a few words maybe about yourself, about Symbiosis, what you guys working with, what you're building, and then we can perhaps discuss, how DeFi and Symbiosis are collaborating and how we will be collaborating in future. So just, yeah, go ahead and say a few words about yourself and the project.
Yes, for sure. So, a few words about myself. So, I'm in football since 2016. Before that, I've been working in advertising for quite a while, and in 2016, it was the first like big,
Mm,
let's say, influx of normies users due to this ICOs, IEOs, and so on and so forth. Literally, like projects raise funds for white paper and landing page that they did like in just one day. It was fun time. And so, but my background is actually academic one, so I have composed master thesis on the use of blockchain technology in logistics and supply chain management. I've been studying in Institute de Impresa in Business School in Madrid. And yeah, I've been working in different positions. I've been working in VC firm for quite a while, in different startups, in Swiss bank, which is currently operating, and then ended up co-founding Symbiosis. So in Symbiosis, we are trying to solve the problem of liquidity fragmentation across different blockchain networks, especially emerging ones. So the problem is pretty obvious that liquidity fees unequally, and there is no until I would say this year or last year there was no solid solution to tackle this problem because everybody aware about in fact every single week on work. So we are trying to leverage this with advanced and security and exception. So in nutshell, we have two sets of products. So first, we are developing a cross-chain MMDEX, and that's to say it's not a deck, it's not a bridge, it's a fully fledged MMDEX. So that it's constant product MMDEX working pretty much the same as Uniswap, for instance, does. So we are enabling users and other businesses to swap any token from chain A to any token on chain B, and this network should be EVM compatible or non-EVM compatible. But second thing, which is also quite interesting, is that we are developing a general message passing protocol so that different businesses can use the general message passing protocol to do custom events on destination chain, for instance, like liquidity provision, liquidity aggregation, liquidity automation, and so on, for which also seems great. Yeah, that's quite few words about us. And yeah, I'm pretty excited and fascinated about what we are building together with Fire. And
yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
we see our bright future.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, thanks for the intro about yourself and the project. I mean, indeed, I mean, I must say that actually I used, I used your your bridges a few times myself when I wanted to bridge some funds from one chain to another, and actually, it always arrived, the funds they always arrived I mean, faster than what actually was kind of predicted by by the route. So there was always usually like a couple of minutes, but it usually took me less than 30 seconds to a minute to get the funds from one chain to another. I think it was mostly like moving stuff between like major chains, right? So Avalanche and Phantom, Polygon and Ethereum. But anyway, I mean, but it was really fast and very easy to use and smooth. I'm just now just sort of showing your app and the sort of swapping from one chain to another. But definitely, I mean, it was very smooth and an easy experience to use. So yeah, definitely that was so yeah. I mean, my personal experience with what you've built. is very positive. And then, yeah, we've been what discussing together this collaboration, and first some general ideas how we could collaborate. But now we are kind of discussing um, more closely how Symbiosis will be powering the well the cross-chain zapping of our Blaze protocol. So in a nutshell, what we as Blaze, what we always envisioned for Blaze was to offer this really low-touch, simple access to DeFi for DeFi users or crypto users. And one of the kind of aspects we always wanted to tackle and to challenge was not to only limit users to deposits from one chain, but allow to for users to deposit from essentially the chain of their choice, a preference into the product of their liking, and even though if it is not on the same chain, but we always wanted to have it kind of implemented directly into our front end, into Blaze Deb, without really the need of going to a third party chain, moving funds between the chains within the same wallet. So we want all this to be integrated directly into the front end. And yeah, from discussions and meetings we've had, it's turned out that it's actually something that you can enable, right? So that was definitely very positive. So now, kind of just to close on that, I mean, our front end team at the moment, I believe they are now setting up a call with your technical team to just discuss the final details of the actual technical implementation of your tech into our front end. But once done, then the users will be able to directly in the app deposit funds into the strategy of their liking from one of the chains that you are supporting in your with your bridges. I can see you have at the moment 8 chains that are supported: Ethereum, BNB, Polygon, Avalanche, Boba, Milkomeda, Aurora, and Telos, right? So, what are actually the plans of like expanding to other chains or adding other chains? I mean, how does it look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, thank you for kind words about like our service being really suitable for your needs. That's really what drives me and wakes me up every day. That we are developing something that's really like helping to solve existing problems, not just superficial problems, but really
Mm,
existing problems in the industry. That's really great, and thank you for your feedback on this. And the thing is, I also want to emphasize that we are thinking like our vision is that decentralized finance should be just as easy in order to like to gain real adoption
mm,
among users worldwide, users especially in emerging countries, in Latin America, in Africa, in Southeast Asia, etc. So the experience that the user should have, it should be as smooth as grocery delivery or just ride hailing that we have like in Web 2. Otherwise, if the experience would be really like disturbed with this need to switch between different indexes, between different bridges, looking for other apps and so on and so forth, we perform just a simple like kind of simple steps to like for instance try liquidity or something. That's really annoying. And
mm,
that's great that we are working. We have the same vision for providing really convenient service without sufficing, without um, that we provide convenient service without need to somehow um, put on security and so on and so forth. So it's both convenient and secure. So about the vision for the network that we're planning to add. So we plan to add our first on EVM chain, and it will be rolled out, I think, in a couple of weeks. It will be near. And
mm,
then actually we had plans for enabling near back to October, but it's been postponed due to the time required by one of our security auditors, because we are trying to audit every time every piece of code that we have put into production. Because once again, we are trying to be as secure and aware as we can. So that's why it's planned for November, for this month, for November. Then we're planning to look into those networks that are getting maybe some traction these days, like Aptos, Sui, and several others. We also take a look at those networks that might be recently funded, but still like trying to get more community more attention and so on and so forth, especially EVM compatible ones. It's not to say that it's about the convenience to add EVM compatible chain because yeah, naturally it's much easier than non-EVM compatible chain. I don't want to be tricky here,
Mm-hmm.
but the thing is, we really believe that compatibility between networks, and not only with Ethereum, but Ethereum is a dominant network, and it's pretty like, Ethereum with the merge, it come to a deflation mode, and recently it finally became deflationary. And so it is, as it's called, ultrasound money. And the thing is, um, compatibility between networks really means a lot in two perspectives. So first, in liquidity migration, and second, in user acquisition.
Mm.
So in case you are trying to like present some new innovational L1 network, in that case, you are stuck at these two problems. Where did you get liquidity and where did you get users? And in that sense, I believe that compatibility between networks is really huge aspect of uh, further adoption of new trade networks. That's why we are trying to work with networks that evolved from previous enterprises, like for instance Telos. The core Telos team was behind EOS ecosystem before. We're also working closely with Algorand
Mm-hmm.
because Algorand is a really interesting network. And among those with whom we had connection are Cardano, and we had already like integrate Wilcomet, which is even compatible chain to Cardano, like a side chain to Cardano. But we are also thinking about native integration of Cardano
Mm-hmm.
because seems like even though they haven't had such a hype like Solana, for instance, had and several other networks had previously, but still they are pretty good at tech, like really good at tech. They
Mm-hmm.
lack this maybe business vision, but still, if you are good at tech, plus you're good at money management, so you can survive any like downturns on the market like we see now, then most probably you will survive in the end. You'll come up with a suitable business model, you'll come up with partnerships and so on and so forth. So it's a matter of survival now. And so that's why we are trying to connect with those networks that we believe may be the headliners on the next day. So I would say that our plans is like this. So we are looking both in EVM compatible chains, non-EVM compatible chains, especially looking for Sui apps because they recently like get some attention. But we're also working with those big L1s like Elgorand and Cardano. That's our
Mm-hmm,
plans.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. No, definitely. I mean, I definitely agree. I mean, there is, as you say, I mean, there are many foundations that are now developing their chains. As you say, I mean, they don't have perhaps so much traction at the moment because in general, traction in DeFi is low and interest in DeFi is low because of the current market conditions. But as you say, once those foundations, those chains, their tech teams, I mean, they develop viable business model and the product and offering that is, unique, new, different to what is already being offered. For sure, they will see an influx of users, right? Once the market starts turning around, and then sending some more positive signals into the world. Um, I know also that you are discussing an integration of IOTA's Shimmer network. So perhaps you could maybe say a few more words on that integration, because we are also looking closely into developments within IOTA community and their Shimmer network, which will be the EVM compatible DeFi layer that right now they have, I believe, a test network ready, and within the next few months there'll be the actual live network launched. And I would just say that, well, why it's so interesting for DeFi team and also to deploy Blaze on Shimmer is simply because IOTA's community, it is a crypto community, but a community that hasn't really been exposed or hasn't experienced so much of DeFi yet. And with our offering and the Blaze, low touch aspect of it, and the whole simplicity and ease of use, we think that we can actually quite nicely answer the needs of DeFi users that are really new to it, but already are familiar with crypto. So we're definitely interested in being present on Shimmer once it is launched. But I know that you also are discussing with IOTA. So perhaps you could say a few words on that.
Yes, sure. So first of all, I would like to thank you, Stu, for introducing us to IOTA team because it was you who, in the first day, presented us to Christian, and then we met with Christian in Singapore Token 2029. So thanks for this.
Yeah, you're
That's the
welcome.
first point I want to say. Second point I want to say, I would come from far, answering from afar, I would say.
Hmm.
So as we saw, like in the heyday of DeFi back to 2020, 2021, the main driver for the DeFi to burst was different lending protocols. And in itself, it's not a problem because lending protocols serves like and suffices particular problems of making markets more liquid, of providing service to lenders, servicing borrowers, and so on and so forth. So in the end, it's great because somehow it's pretty much the same as back to the history of banking system without partial reserve that allowed banking system to put their 90% of their proceeds to credits and so on and so forth, without partial reserve for the stock market that actually created the stock market. So back to 17, I think 16th or 17th century.
Hmm.
Without all this, we can see our traditional financial world that we see now. But in the end, like limiting DeFi, and that's the point, limiting DeFi to only lending service that we saw can be a corrupted idea because we saw the how lending and increased interest rate becomes not just like a financial tool, but more a marketing tool to attract more users. And we
Hmm.
saw this problem first uh, with this lending protocol. I forget what its name on Terra first, and we saw it too
Anchor,
many
right?
times.
Do you mean
Yes,
Anchor?
yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, yes,
Mm.
yes, on Anchor. So 20% on stables was not like because there is a financial need for this. It was a marketing tool. And that's the point where I believe those networks like Shimmer, for instance, even to the chain to IOTA, can stand up from the crowd because the team has expertise and knowledge that goes beyond just financial services. Because the first idea of IOTA was like Internet of Things,
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
the blockchain can serve not just the human interaction, but human to machine interaction, machine to
Mm.
machine interaction, and so on and so forth. So I believe that this approach that goes beyond just, strictly speaking, financial services that in the end of the day may merge with marketing services, which is crazy idea, and we saw this with Anchor and with other protocols on the market. If it goes beyond just financial services and trying to solve the problems of real world just that connected to financial service, but goes beyond financial service, like trade finance, logistics, and so on and so forth, that may be the uprise, the point of uprise for DeFi, for the next wave of DeFi. That's why I believe that collaborating with those teams that had first intention not to make yet another financial innovation on top of those financial innovation we already have, but that trying to solve like problem of somehow related domains, not directly related to financial, but somehow related. This might be the melting pot of really good ideas, of really good projects that some of them, I would not say like 100% of them would succeed, but like 10% of them would succeed and make the headlines for the DeFi uprise in the next like 2 to 3 years.
Mm.
So that's the idea. And when I talk to Christian, I know that he is working like as an ecosystem developer and so on and so forth. So we had this round of conversation back to Singapore in September, and I believe that they have really huge, I would say, technical expertise in what they are doing, and I believe that Primo Network may be like the next big success, and that's why we have plans and to spoil some facts that we had already, like some connection and so on and so forth. So just today, Christian introduced us to two DEXs
Hmm.
that we will be using to route transaction through them. Because every
Right.
time we connect to network, we need DEXs to exist on this particular network to route transaction through them. So that's how we connect. So that's why we are picking up different DEXs to pick up the best price across them to provide it to quote it to the user. For some
Mm-hmm.
networks, we're using aggregation services like 1inch. But for other services, for other networks, we either go in directly to networks in case 1inch doesn't exist on them or some other aggregations doesn't exist in them, or we are also trying to make interrelated connection. So most probably we will be talking to Shima network as well, so that they can be integrated in on-chain aggregators like 1inch, etc., etc. In that case, that would be a win-win-win because it would be a win for Symbiosis because we will integrate them through this aggregation service. It will be a win for aggregation service, and it will be a win for Shima network. Yeah, so we just recently connected with two DEXs on Shima network, and currently we are looking through docs, and we'll be integrating them shortly in the EVM compatible. So I don't think that there would be a big problem with this. So once they go live, yeah, we will be adding them as well.
Yeah, excellent. I mean, yeah, that's great to hear. I mean, one of those dexes we are also working closely with. It's Shimmer C or Tangle C. They go by two names.
Shimmer, yeah.
Yes, and
Mhm.
actually we will be having a co-marketing campaign coming soon to DeFi. I mean, like similar to the one we have with you guys from Symbiosis. We can maybe talk about it in a second. But I wanted to say that yes, yeah, we also discussing very closely with different projects in Shimmer, in Shimmer ecosystem or coming to Shimmer. And yeah, I mean, essentially, I mean, there are some good ideas, good plans being put in motion. Many projects are actually ready. I think Shimmer is one of them. They're just waiting for the chain to go live, and they are ready to start with their decks. Essentially, what I understand from those different projects working on deployment of Shimmer and also from Foundation. I mean, on their launch, there'll be the entire basic DeFi infrastructure that you'd expect from a DeFi chain. So, DEX, borrowing, lending, there'll be some farming, yield aggregation, different opportunities. So yeah, from day one, it will be a fully functional DeFi chain that the community would be able to get access to, and everybody else who is on other EVM and not EVM chains, because I mean, in the first place, it would be EVM compatible, so bridging would be relatively easy. I believe also the wallet address that you have now in MetaMask probably will be compatible with Shimmer EVM chain. I think so because it's an EVM, so should work just fine. So yeah, definitely there are. It's great to see those teams. I mean, there are very committed teams with some good ideas. Yes, of course. I mean, DEX is still a DEX. It will offer some basic functionality that is already to be found on other chains, but those teams usually they also want to offer something extra on top of what is already existing on other chains. So there's also coming some innovation and not just simple forking of Uniswap and that's it. So yeah, we are definitely looking forward to Shimmer and to collaboration with those projects. And it's great to hear that Shimmer is talking to you guys, since we have plans of using or working on strategies together with Shimmer C. So perhaps then there'll be even easier integration of this cross-chain zapping into our strategies. All right. Well, that was great. So then, yeah, I can see we have some people in the audience. If anybody has some questions, just raise your hand. You can jump to the stage and ask the question directly. You can also type them in the questions channel. That's fine as well. I'll just read them out, and then we'll try to answer them. So yeah, just go ahead. Either write a question or raise your hand, and either way would be fine. I can see I have to just find the channel, but I believe I saw a question posted earlier today. I'll just read it out. Where do we have it? Yeah, there we are. So there was a question earlier today asking by Chupapi. Chupapi was asking, is there any joint ambassadorial program planned, and in what direction will cooperation develop? So I think the second one we answered, which direction we would like to develop this cooperation. The first one, if there is any ambassadorial program planned, I don't really know precisely what Chupapi means by ambassadorial program, but at least we have, well, as a first step, I would say that we have an ongoing core marketing campaign. Essentially, both projects are trying to make other projects more visible, and both campaigns are run simultaneously by Symbiosis and by us in DFire. I believe there is information posted on Twitter, Telegram, Discord about those campaigns. There are some prizes involved. So yeah, that is definitely live. It runs for 72 hours, so people can submit their entries for the raffle within 72 hours, and I think it expires Friday, which is tomorrow at midnight UTC. I don't know if you'd like to add something more to that, Nick.
Yeah. I mean, on the ambassador program, we naturally can discuss this. Uh, Mostly, so we had some ideas for this, but in case you have some precise thoughts how it can be structured and so on and so forth, then feel free to pin us on Discord, on Telegram, in direct messages. So we'd be happy to consider that.
Yes, and I can see there's Harry Bucko, sorry, not Harry Bucko, Harry Bucko asking a question if we have a listing strategy for the future. So I imagine that is, I would assume it's a question.
The question was about the total listing, right? Where we are listed at the moment. So currently we are listed from PKX for the Gate and Bybit, the platform Texas, like for credit. Well, we also have plans for listings. We had plans for this autumn, but we will consider given that the market might not be like very uh, friendly at this time for listings because everybody expects that listings could be outlined with the marketing campaign and so on and so forth. So we don't want to make listing just for listing purpose, but we want to make it more about like each come aligned with some product feature development and some announcements on our side, and we have those. So we have more ideas for listing. Can actually disclose those exchanges we plan to get listed on, but just stay tuned for dates from on our social media.
Mm, mm. It sounds good. And I guess probably now with the current recent developments in centralized exchanges, probably, I mean, what is your actual take on the listing with a centralized exchange?
Um, so I believe that listing on centralized exchanges still does make sense. For instance, nobody would say that listing on Binance is a bad idea. So, still, at some point, I believe that we will see all the listings that we can get for our current centralized exchanges, but currently playing like rule of the games and our market is that we still need to get listed on centralized exchanges because of the volume, because of the number of traders there and so on and so forth. So I think that the only thing that every project owner seems to take into account is that it just make sure that those changes you're trying to get listed on are solid enough and won't be like blasted at some point in time. I know that it's hard to predict because even well-known and pretty deep funded and ethics had a lot of partners in the space and still it happened to them.
Mm.
That's what happens in the market. But I believe that still listing centralized exchanges is not an evil in itself. It's just a tool. I would
Yeah.
say that in the end of the day, it's just a tool to attract more community members to get some volume in case they enjoy your token, your product, your economics, and so on and so forth. So I think that it's just a tool. Tool cannot be like good or evil by itself. It's
Hmm.
everything about the how people use it.
Yeah,
So I would say like this.
yeah, I agree. And yeah, and then regarding, I mean, DeFi and DeFi token, um, so there are different ideas regarding the listing. Well, for now we are focusing on Polygon because this is where the strategies will be launched first. But then with the deposit from from other chains supported by Symbiosis, as we discussed earlier. But the smart contract is deployed on Polygon, and this is where DeFi token will launch first. Um, so we're looking into different solutions. One of the solutions for the initial liquidity and the initial initial launch of the token is a balancer pool. That is one of the imbalance pools where 80% would be DeFi token and 20% is a stablecoin. We are looking into that solution. There are also other solutions on the table. Um, but most likely it will be balancer and this 80-20 pool, liquidity pool to start with. And then once we have then deployed strategies and smart contract on other chains, then the liquidity will be also available on most likely on other chains as well. Or we're also considering how to handle or address the multi-chain aspect of DeFi token and the whole offering of our ecosystem. We're also looking into a solution where the token could somehow live cross-chain, so to enable cross-chain voting, cross-chain governance, and cross-chain utility. And I'm sure we'll have a chance to discuss that, Nick, sometime in future. But essentially, that is probably also probably many projects are looking into this cross-chain utility of their token, right? So not to be bound just to uh, one chain, but to be able to offer the same utility to the users of the token on whatever chain they are.
Indeed, indeed.
Hmm.
And actually, we are working with a few teams already on this.
Okay.
So, for instance, we have one wallet that they have their token deployed on BNB chain and Polygon chain, and we are enabling them to easily swap these tokens between those chains so that users can enjoy this without huge slippage and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's also a
Hmm.
good use case for us. So we'll be
Absolutely.
happy to work on this as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, that's it's yeah, you don't really want to like there are cross-chain projects, obviously, in existence today. I mean, either whether some are easier to use cross-chain, some are more difficult, but usually the token itself, or let's say the utility of the token, is usually limited to the main chain of that protocol, right? So that's what we see today, and obviously that's something we don't want to follow because that would kind of already send a strong message that, well, this is the chain of the preference, right? Because this is where the project lives, this is where the token lives, all the utility is there. We don't want that. We want actually users to freely engage with our DApp on whatever chain is supported, and their token should have the same utility on every chain. So it doesn't matter where they got their token, whether they bought it there, or maybe they got it as some form of a reward or whatnot. But the utility, once the contract is deployed on on other chains than Polygon, would be the same, and that's the ambition we are working towards. And as you said, I mean, there are some solutions, but that's this is a technology, this is the direction that still requires some exploration, right? And to find the most suitable solution for that.
Yes, yes, of course. And also, the thing is, even though like it's kind of, I would say, without exaggeration, every action that we are taking here in our market is really important because it's first, it's a sort of manifestation of your like intentions, of your attitude, and so on and so forth. So in case you're a cross-chain project, but you're token is deployed on just one chain, but then it writes questions for your like commitment, that sort of thing. But on the other hand, also when you're deploying, so when you have like your protocol working, and then you have launched your first token, then it becomes a separate product. And this logic can be applied pretty much same for deploying your tokens on different chains, even though it's still like this particular token deploying it on every single chain is really you need to take it responsibly because once deployed on your chain, it creates a separate project, a separate token, which its own like risks,
Mm.
user base, and so on and so forth. So that's why it's good to follow this direction. It's like I would say like it's it's quite the same as following and trying to pursue decentralization.
Hmm.
Decentralization is great, but it comes with a cost. Everybody understands this. Like it comes with the cost of decision making. For instance, if you are running a company in a DAO mode or as a proprietary company, being a CEO or chief level executive in your company. So there are some limitations every time you take a decision, and that's why. But it's not to say that we don't need to make those decisions. Nobody say that making decisions is an easy task. But still, we are shaping this industry by moving, by developing, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I would say that I would highly encourage if you have token deployed on different chains, just try to make it as a something really special because once again it can be a good marketing tool to attract users from this newly created chain. Let's say so you have your token deployed first on Polygon and then you decide to deploy it on the second chain. That's really a huge event and you should take it as it is.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So I'll just ask in the audience if there are some questions from the audience. Somebody, yeah, just raise your hand if you have a question you'd like to ask, or I don't see other questions in the chat. Um, well, then I wanted to also ask maybe towards the end about your future plans in terms of like adding other functionality, but bridging. Obviously, that we discussed. We discussed what other chains you're planning to introduce to your offering. We briefly discussed this support, cross-chain support for tokens. Are there other features you are looking into? Perhaps fiat on-ramp or those kind of features, or maybe something else? I mean, is there anything you would like to share here? You might want to unmute yourself, Nick, if you are trying to say something.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, yes, sorry, I was on mute. Yes, so the thing is, it's like the last word in a court, I'm joking. Still, I would like to say that even though we are currently in a turbulent time, everybody understands that this turbulent time is like most probably never before in crypto, because never before we saw the bridge for 8 billion in one of the biggest companies, and where it will lead us, nobody knows, honestly. But the thing is, I believe every time. we have a down, next time we have up. And it works pretty much the same. So I believe that uh, we touched upon some really brilliant idea of decentralization and interoperability in different forms. So in Symbiosis, we tackled with liquidity fragmentation and swapping between tokens. With DeFi team, they discovered this idea of yield fragmentation and how to work with this. From my own words, you naturally can explain this in better words.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
and the thing is, uh, the only thing we also know that we are working in the right direction and uniting with like-minded people, teams, being guided by deep belief in what we are doing is what will bring us to the next bull run. And it's not only about bull run Bitcoin for 100K, whatever. It's also about shaping something and having a step and a sign in the history of the crypto, of the world, and so on and so forth. And that's great. That's really great. I'm deeply proud I'm in the space. I'm deeply proud I am developing Symbiosis. I'm deeply proud to be here on this AMA session with you. Thank you so much.
Excellent.
That's only I want to say.
Yeah, great to hear. So yeah, towards the end, well, thanks a lot for coming by. It was fantastic. You could join me today, so we could talk about the plans both projects has, both individually, but also working jointly. Um, Also, towards the end, I would like to just encourage everybody to visit our Medium, DeFi Medium site. There is an article that describes in details the ongoing campaign between Symbiosis and DeFi. So if you are in doubt how and what and how to do it and what it is about and how to participate in some raffle for prizes, it's all summarized in there. Obviously, you can find it on Twitters and Discord and Telegrams. But if you'd like to have everything compacted into one single read, DeFi Medium account, and you will find a recent article about that describes it all. So yeah, thanks a lot, Nick, for joining me today. It was a pleasure to discuss with you, and I'm sure in some time in the future we'll repeat it, and then once this integration is live and users can deposit into Blaze strategies with the use of your technology, I think we'll have a chance to talk about it again, and then just look retrospectively how the collaboration went, and again probably even draw some bigger plans for future. So once again, thanks a lot, and thanks a lot to everybody who joined us today. And yeah, all is recorded, so everybody can listen to the conversation in their spare time if they wish so. So yeah, everybody, I wish you a great day, and again, Nick, see you around.
See you, sir, and thank you for inviting me.
Take care.
Thank you,
Bye
everyone,
bye.
for listening us. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.